Hi, my name is Guin Thompson. I am a cartoonist, an illustrator, and a professor of illustration at Grand Valley State University. And I'm here today to talk to you about making your own superhero. So let's get started. All right, if we're going to make a superhero, we should probably ask ourselves, what is a superhero? So if you hear that word, some things probably come to mind. Maybe something like this. So Superman and Wonder Woman, two pretty famous characters that exist in comics and movies. Both of them have spectacular powers and fight on the side of good. And that's basically what a superhero is. Superheroes have been around for a really long time in human culture. So stories of might and magic and overcoming evil and all this kind of stuff. They've been around as long as human civilization has. So stories like Hercules, oh wait, you might not know this Hercules, but you probably know this one. Stories like Robin Hood or Perseus slaying the Medusa, and on. These stories have been around for a long time. So it's your chance to add to that lineage of story with your own superhero, which is pretty great. So there's a question, who gets to be a superhero? And what's really kind of cool about making your own is the answer to that is anyone. Anyone can be a superhero, regardless of age, of gender, of ethnicity. Anybody can have these powers. You get to decide what powers they are. They can be human, they can be a mutant, they can be an alien. There's really no wrong way to do this. So you can even make yourself into a superhero, which is a really fun way to approach this, I think. So, deciding on a superhero, you might want to think about making yourself into one, or maybe your mom or your dad or your brother or sister, maybe a friend. It's really up to you. You can even make your pets into superheroes. So for me, I am starting with a normal human girl. So this is my normal human girl that I'm going to turn into a superhero. I'm going to call her May. I've decided she's about 11. Pretty excited. She's pretty normal looking. You wouldn't kind of know that she has powers because she's not really dressed like a superhero. She doesn't really look like one. So a lot of superheroes have an alter ego where they have, like Superman and Clark Kent, where he puts the glasses on and the suit, and then you don't know that he's the Man of Steel. So this is my alter ego for my superhero. But the first thing you really have to decide, once you figure out kind of the base of your superhero character, is what that superpower is going to be. This is really the fun part, because that superpower can be literally anything. And you might think about what you wish you could do. So that could be super strength, it could be flight, invisibility, shooting rays out of your eyes, reading minds, teleportation. The list is really endless. So think about what might be really cool for somebody to be able to do. And what might be really fun to draw, too. That's another consideration that you should think about. So I've decided for my superhero, I'm going to give her the power of flight. Because I wish I could fly. I think it would be really fun. It would save a lot on airfare, and I'd get to travel and maybe help out some people too. So I think I'm going to make my superhero, she can fly, and that's going to be really fun, I think, to draw and to kind of come up with a story. So the other thing that you have to sort of think about, once you pin down a power that they have, you have to decide how they got that power. So that's called an origin story. This is how that superhero came to be a superhero. Some superheroes are born with their powers, so maybe they have mutant abilities like the X-Men, or maybe they're aliens, or not quite human, maybe like Superman, or maybe they worked really hard to get those superpowers. So maybe, through intelligence and training and stuff like that, like Batman or Iron Man. If you think about those characters, they really don't have inherent superpowers. They use their intelligence and their endless streams of cash to create these abilities. and maybe the powers were bestowed on them, like Spider-Man got bit by a radioactive spider, and that gave him his powers. So he wasn't born with them, he didn't ask for them, but they just kind of were laid on him, and he had to deal with that. So none of those are wrong choices, but it is important to kind of decide how they got their power, their origin story, because that's going to influence what your character looks like. So how you draw them, how you create their costuming, all those visual choices that you make depend on kind of their background, where they're coming from. So I think for this version of my superhero, I've decided she's going to be a mutant. So she was born with the ability to fly, and I've decided that she's going to be a butterfly mutant. So I've given her a name. The name is maybe the most fun part. So I named her Morpho, because Morpho is my favorite butterfly. It's really beautiful. They're huge. They're this really nice iridescent blue. I think they just look really cool, kind of mysterious. And that's what I wanted for my character. So it can be really fun to think about the natural world. Like if your character has super speed, you might think about animals that are super fast. So maybe like cheetahs, you could put cheetah spots on their costume. Or, if you want to do a flying character, you could think what else sort of things fly, not just butterflies, but like bees and birds and, things like that, maybe even bats. So I kind of chose my inspiration from here, and that can be a really fun thing to look at. And then is the most fun part. You get to put them in a costume. Now, you may notice I've called everything the most fun part because it's all super fun. I can't pick a favorite. So costume is really important because it tells the world that this character is a superhero, that they're here to fight for justice, to help people out, and to be recognized as more than just a normal person. So my girl before, she had just jean shorts and a t-shirt on. She looked pretty normal, very unsuspecting, but when I put her in an outfit like this, she definitely looks like a superhero. So this is Morpho. She has butterfly wings. She's got antenna kind of growing out of her forehead. But I wanted to give her costume, an outfit that kind of reflected her superpower and kind of emphasized those wings sort of growing out of her back. So I gave her a mask because masks are very cool. They sort of disguise your identity a little bit, and they make you look more mysterious. And again, it's about setting yourself apart from just a regular person. So if you see somebody in a mask and a costume like this, you're going to think, okay, this is somebody special. So I kind of had to think about what her power is, and that's flight. So I didn't want to put her in something really heavy and bulky because that would be hard to fly in. So you have to think about your own superpower, your superhero. What do they do? If they're really fast, then you might want to design a costume that's very aerodynamic, very sleek, so it doesn't hold them up when they're running. Or if they are a shapeshifter, then you need a costume that's going to be really stretchy and doesn't maybe have a lot of crazy stuff going on, because that's going to get ripped apart or not going to work when they transform into something totally different. So with Morpho here, I've given her her mask. I've also given her an outfit that allows for some kind of breathing happening with it. So it has these cutouts on the arms. Because I imagine, that's a lot of effort to exert. It probably gets a little bit warm when you're flying that much. So I wanted her to stay cool. And then for her shoes, I wanted to give her something a little bit heavier because I figure that she's going to be flying really high in the air and then landing. And I wanted the landing to be a little bit softer. So she has these thick rubber-soled boots that are going to make that landing a little bit easier on her legs, I suppose. And then just style-wise, I went with the color scheme from the Morpho butterfly, that kind of blue and that really like pale cyan blue, and then that black with the patterning on the edges of the wings. It's just really pretty. So I wanted to put that into my design too. So, color can play a big part in how your costume is kind of read by your audience. That would be who's looking at your character, your costume, should tell a story too. So I also thought about the same superhero in a different context. So what if Morpho is not a mutant? What if she wasn't born with powers, but through her intelligence and her, kind of knowledge of math and science and all this kind of stuff, maybe she's an inventor. Maybe she can invent a jetpack that allows her to fly like a butterfly. So she kind of adopts this idea of a butterfly, this Morpho, as her signature. So I've given her a similar kind of thing with the boots, because I figure you're going to need that if you have especially a jetpack on and it gets hot. But I also gave her a really like form-fitting, kind of wind-resistant outfit, and then these like cool little plates that might protect her arms from debris and stuff like that when she's flying. These gloves so her hands don't get cold and she can operate her jetpack. And then goggles, of course, because, you don't want stuff getting in your eyes when you're flying through the city or, wherever you happen to be. So her costume changes a lot depending on her origin story. So when she's a mutant, it looks like this. It allows kind of that focus to be on her wings. And when she's not, when she has to acquire those powers herself, then she's going to look a little bit different. So think about how your character is going to get their powers. That's pretty important. So the last thing you may want to think about is a logo. So a lot of superheroes have a special image called a logo that stands for who they are. Sometimes, they're very simple. Sometimes they're a little bit more complex. Sometimes the symbol is right in the name. So if you see that Batman symbol there on the second row, his name is Batman. It's right there. So his symbol is a bat. But then there's other symbols that are a little bit different that kind of more represent what the character can do. So like on the bottom row, on the left-hand side, there's the symbol for the Flash. The Flash has super speed, meaning he's very, very fast. But instead of drawing like somebody running or a cheetah or something like that, his symbol is a lightning bolt. So if you think about how fast a lightning bolt strikes, that's how fast the Flash can run. So that makes sense, and that can be a really cool thing. So these can go on their costume. They can be shown into the sky like a searchlight, like Batman does. But it's kind of a fun thing to have. So with Morpho, I came up with this logo for her that she could wear on her chest or maybe on her belt as an accessory or something like this. So I took the M in Morpho and I sort of shaped it around a butterfly. So these are a couple different ideas for what Morpho's logo could look like. We have the M, we have the wing shape, we have the colors that are used in her costume, and that looks pretty cool. It's a pretty cool logo, I think. I could definitely see wearing that as a patch or, something like that too. So, definitely it can be part of their costume, but it can just be a nice added touch at the end. But whatever you do, whatever you want to do, make sure that your character is telling a story, because you can draw this really cool character and it can have a really cool power, but if there's no story there, then you can't do very much with it. So think about what your character stands for, what they're fighting against, how they can use their powers to help other people, and as always, use your own powers for good. Have a great time creating your own superhero. Thank you so much for joining me, and thanks to the Grand Rapids Public Library for making this possible. All right, have fun creating. Bye.